Because of their advisors' lies, the three Alpha Kings became convinced that I had been unfaithful, that the children I carried might not belong to them, and just like that, without looking into my eyes or asking for the truth, they chose to believe someone else instead of me. When I finally opened my eyes in the hospital room, the twins I had been waiting for, our unborn babies, were already gone forever. They didn't offer comfort, not a touch, not even a single word. Instead, they handed me a file containing divorce papers. With 3 cold signatures, they ended our 3-year bond as if our vows and our dead unborn children had meant nothing at all. But 6 years later, everything changed, and when we met again, I was no longer the silent, broken Omega they had thrown away. I was Dr. Aaron Ash, father of 5, a keynote speaker at the International Medical Conference, and the husband of the man who saved me when they destroyed me. Welcome to BL Story Heaven. I hope you all are doing great. If you are new here, please hit the subscribe button for more stories. Now sit back, relax, and enjoy today's story. This one is about betrayal, loss, redemption, and the family you build when the one you thought you had turns to ash. Let me take you back to the beginning, to the day I first met them. I was 21 years old, fresh out of university with degrees in linguistics and diplomatic translation. I had been mute since I was 7 when a severe fever ravaged my vocal cords and left me in permanent silence. The doctors had tried everything: surgery, therapy, experimental treatments. Nothing worked. My parents had spent their entire savings trying to give me back my voice, and when they died in a car accident when I was 19, I was left alone with my silence and a mountain of medical debt I would spend years paying off. But I didn't let the silence defeat me. I learned 7 languages. I became so good at sign language and written translation that by the time I graduated, I was the most sought-after diplomatic translator in 3 kingdoms. That's how I ended up at the Royal Palace, translating for the 3 kings during the Continental Peace Summit: Kaiser, Dmitri, and Theron, the 3 Alpha Kings who ruled the United Territories as a triumvirate. They were brothers, born in the same year to 3 different mothers, and they had taken the throne together when their father died. Kaiser was the strategist, cold and calculating with ice-blue eyes that could freeze you with a glance. Dmitri was the warrior, all controlled violence and storm-gray eyes that saw through every lie. Theron was the diplomat, charming and deadly with dark gold eyes that could make you confess your secrets without even trying. Together, they were unstoppable, feared, respected, powerful beyond measure. And for some reason I would never understand, they wanted me. It started small. Kaiser asking me to stay late to translate confidential documents. Dmitri requesting I accompany him to training sessions to translate military terminology. Theron insisting I join him for state dinners to handle the multilingual guests. I told myself it was just work, just professional. But then came the night of the Winter Gala, 3 months after I started working for them. I was standing in the corner of the ballroom, doing my job, translating conversations for visiting dignitaries, when all 3 of them approached me at once. The entire ballroom went silent. Every eye turned to watch as Kaiser took my left hand, Dmitri took my right, and Theron stood directly in front of me with a small velvet box. "We've been discussing this for weeks," Theron said quietly, his gold eyes locked on mine. "We've consulted the Royal Council, the legal advisors, and our own hearts, and we've come to a unanimous decision." He opened the box. Inside were 3 rings, intertwined. "We want you as our mate, our Omega, our equal. Will you accept our claim?" I should have said no. I should have known that someone like me, an orphan with no family, no voice, no status, could never truly belong in their world. But I was 21 and desperately lonely, and they were looking at me like I was the most precious thing they had ever seen. So I signed yes with shaking hands and let them place the rings on my finger and claim me in front of the entire court. The next 2 years were the happiest of my life. They treated me like I was made of gold. Kaiser would spend hours teaching me royal protocol and palace politics. Dmitri would take me riding through the countryside and teach me self-defense because he said his Omega should be able to protect himself. Theron would read to me every night in all 7 languages I knew just to watch me smile. They learned sign language for me, all 3 of them fluent within 6 months. They hired a specialist to teach me how to use an advanced translation tablet so I could communicate faster during important meetings. They gave me everything I thought love was supposed to be, but there were signs I didn't see, or maybe I saw them and chose to ignore them. Lord Ashford, the chief royal advisor, hated me from the moment the claiming was announced. He had wanted them to choose a high-born Omega from one of the noble families, as someone with connections and political value. Instead, they chose a commoner, an orphan, a mute translator with nothing to offer but languages and loyalty. He made his displeasure known in small ways, a cold look here, a dismissive comment there. Once, during a council meeting, he suggested that perhaps the king's Omega should not be present for sensitive political discussion since I was not actually of royal blood. Kaiser had shut him down immediately, but I saw the flash of agreement in some of the other counselors' eyes. I didn't belong, and they knew it. Then I got pregnant. 8 months into our bond, I started feeling exhausted all the time, nauseous, dizzy. I thought I was just working too hard, translating for 12 hours a day during the treaty negotiations. But when I finally went to the palace physician, she ran tests and came back with her eyes wide. "You're pregnant," she said. "Twins." I sat in that medical room for 10 minutes staring at the ultrasound images of 2 tiny heartbeats and felt my entire world shift. I was going to be a father. We were going to be fathers. I couldn't wait to tell them. I planned it carefully. I wanted it to be perfect. I asked the palace chef to prepare their favorite meal. I set up the private dining room with candles. I had the ultrasound images framed in a small wooden box with a note I had written by hand. "Inside are your heirs, twins, due in 4 months. I love you." I waited in that dining room for 2 hours. They never came. They were in an emergency council session that ran until midnight. When they finally returned to our chambers, exhausted and covered in the stress of whatever political crisis they had been managing, I didn't have the heart to add to their burden. I'll tell them tomorrow, I thought. Tomorrow when they're rested and happy. I never got the chance. The next morning, the Eastern delegation arrived for the final treaty signing. Their head translator was sick, and they asked if I could step in to help. Of course I agreed. It was my job. I spent the entire day in the translation rooms with the Eastern Alpha, Lord Garrett, helping him draft a personal letter to his dying father. It was intimate work, translating someone's grief and love into words. He cried twice. I held his hand once to comfort him. That was all, nothing more. But someone saw us, someone reported it, and that someone added details that didn't exist. By the time the report reached Lord Ashford, it had become a full affair. Secret meetings, inappropriate touching, an Omega betraying his kings with a foreign Alpha. Ashford must have been thrilled. Finally, the proof he needed that I wasn't worthy of them. That night, 8 months pregnant and glowing with the secret I was finally ready to share, I walked toward the council chambers to tell them about the twins. I was going to interrupt their meeting, pull them aside, show them the ultrasound, and watch their faces light up with joy. But I heard the shouting before I even reached the door. "You're telling me our Omega has been unfaithful?" Kaiser's voice, sharp and cold. "I have proof, your majesties." Lord Ashford's voice, smooth and poisonous, multiple witnesses. He was alone with the Eastern Alpha for hours. They were touching, laughing, and there's more. I stopped breathing. No, this wasn't happening. Dimitri's voice came next, dangerous and low. "What more?" "The physician confirmed he's carrying twins," Ashford said, "but when I checked the dates against your majesty's schedules, there's a discrepancy. The conception timeline matches perfectly with the Eastern delegation's first visit 2 months ago, not with your majesty's time with him." My knees went weak. That was a lie. A complete, calculated lie. I had been with them the night I conceived. I knew the exact night. It was the anniversary of our claiming, and we had spent the entire evening together in our private chambers. But I had no voice to scream the truth, no way to defend myself except my hands and my tablet, and I wasn't even in the room. The doors opened, all 3 of them stood there, and the way they looked at me I knew Ashford had won. "Is it true?" Dimitri asked, his voice completely flat. I shook my head so hard my neck hurt. I pulled out my tablet frantically and started typing. "No, it's not true. The Eastern Alpha needed help with a letter to his dying father. That's all. The twins are yours. I know the exact night. Please believe me. Please." But before I could even finish typing, Kaiser spoke. "You've been spending a lot of time with him." I looked up at him, confused. "Yes, it's my job. You asked me to help with the delegation." Theron's voice came next, quiet and deadly. Were you alone with him? Yes, I typed. We were translating a private family letter. He didn't want others to see his grief. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely hold the tablet. Did he touch you? Dmitri asked. The question felt like a slap. I hesitated, and that hesitation destroyed me. He held my hand once when he was crying about his father. I typed, "That's all. I swear that's all." The silence that followed was the worst sound I had ever heard. Then Lord Ashford stepped forward with a folder. I had been standing in the shadows. They hadn't even known I was there until now. My heart sank. Medical records, Your Majesties, from the royal physician. I took the liberty of requesting a detailed timeline analysis. His finger pointed to a section highlighted in red. You see here, the estimated conception date is October 15th, but Your Majesties were in the Northern Territories for the military summit from October 10th through October 20th. You were not in the palace. You couldn't have been the fathers. It was a lie. I knew it was a lie. I had been with them on October 14th, the night before they left. We had spent the whole night together. I had the security logs to prove it. The palace recorded everything, but I couldn't speak, couldn't yell, couldn't scream that they were being manipulated. All I could do was type frantically. Check the palace security records for October 14th. I was with you that night, all night, before you left for the summit. The twins are yours. Please just check the records, please. But Kaiser's face had already closed. You're asking us to believe you over documented medical evidence? I'm asking you to check facts instead of believing him, I typed, pointing at Ashford. He hates me. He's wanted me gone since the day you claimed me. He's lying. Theron looked at me like I was a stranger. You really expect us to believe that our chief advisor, a man who has served this kingdom for 30 years, would fabricate evidence just to harm you? Yes, I typed desperately. Yes, because that's exactly what he's doing. Please, just look at the security footage. That's all I'm asking. One look. Dmitri turned away. I can't believe we're even having this conversation. The sound of his voice, the finality in it, broke something inside me. Then the first cramp hit. It felt like someone had taken a knife and twisted it through my belly. I grabbed the door frame, gasping silently, my tablet clattering to the floor. The pain was blinding, all-consuming. Then I felt the wetness between my legs, looked down. Blood. So much blood, spreading. Gone. The twins I had loved from the moment I knew they existed were gone. I tried to scream, but no sound came out. Just like always, just like my entire life. Tears poured down my face in rivers. My whole body shook with sobs that had no voice. A nurse came in, saw me, and immediately left. A few minutes later, the physician entered. "I'm sorry," she said quietly. "We couldn't save them. The trauma was too severe. You hemorrhaged. We did everything we could." She paused, and her face did something complicated. "There's something else you need to know. The damage to your uterus was extensive. You won't be able to carry children again." I stared at her, felt my mind go completely blank. Not only had I lost the twins, but I had lost any chance of ever being a father. The grief was so massive I couldn't even process it. It just sat in my chest like a black hole, swallowing everything. The door opened. Kaiser walked in, dressed in formal black. Dmitri and Theron followed. None of them looked at me. They stood at the foot of my bed like they were attending a funeral, which I suppose they were. The funeral of our bond. Kaiser placed a black folder on the bed. Divorce decree. "We've already signed. You just need to add your signature." My hand shook as I picked up the tablet from the side table. "Our children are dead," I typed. "Do you feel nothing? How can you do this to me now?" Dimitri's jaw tightened, but he didn't answer. I kept typing, the words pouring out in a desperate flood. "How could you believe him over me? I've been loyal to you for 2 years. I've never even looked at another alpha. Those were your children, your heirs. How could you doubt that?" Theron finally spoke, and his voice was quiet. "Were they really ours, Aaron?" In that moment, something inside me died completely. Not just broke, died, turned to ash. I picked up the pen with shaking hands and signed the paper. Then I typed one last message. I held it up so all 3 of them could see. "I hope one day you discover the truth, and I hope it destroys you the way this destroyed me." I left the palace that night with one bag, my translation tablet, and medical debt I would be paying off for the next decade. I had no family, no friends. I had spent 2 years in the palace, isolated from everyone except them, and now I had nothing. I walked through the snowy streets until I collapsed in front of a free clinic in the lower city. That's where Dr. Lucian Ash found me. He was doing volunteer work, treating patients who couldn't afford the palace physicians. He took one look at me, bleeding and broken on his clinic floor, and carried me to an operating room. I woke up 6 hours later to find him sitting beside my bed, his green eyes exhausted but kind. "You're going to be okay," he said gently. "Physically, at least. The rest will take time." I pulled out my tablet. "Thank you," I typed, "for saving me." He smiled. "That's my job." Then his face became serious. "The nurse told me what happened. I'm sorry about your children, and I'm sorry about the damage. I know that's not easy news to hear. I couldn't type anything. The grief was too big." He reached over and took my hand. "You're not alone," he said. "I know it feels like you are, but you're not. I'm here, and I'm not going anywhere until you're well." Lucian kept his promise. Over the next 6 months, he helped me heal, not just physically, but mentally. He introduced me to a support group for Omegas who had lost pregnancies. He connected me with a therapist who specialized in trauma. He helped me find a small apartment I could afford and got me a job at the clinic doing translation work for immigrant patients. Slowly, painfully, I started to rebuild. And somewhere in those 6 months, gratitude became friendship. Friendship became something deeper. I fell in love with him the day I watched him spend 4 hours translating medical terms into broken phrases for a terrified refugee family, refusing to leave until they understood their child's diagnosis. He fell in love with me, he told me later. The day I translated a dying grandmother's last words to her family in 3 languages and held her hand until she passed. We were married 8 months after I left the palace. It was a small ceremony, just us, the clinic staff, and a judge. No family, no fanfare, just 2 people who had found each other in the aftermath of tragedy. A year into our marriage, Lucian came home from the hospital with a strange expression on his face. "I need to tell you about something," he said. "There's an experimental procedure. Vocal cord reconstruction using stem cell grafts and microsurgery. It's still in trials, but the success rate is promising." I looked up from my tablet. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying I think I can give you your voice back," he said, "if you want it." I stared at him. I had been mute for 18 years. I had accepted it as a permanent part of my identity. The idea that I could speak again felt impossible. "Why now?" I typed. "Because you deserve to have every option available to you," he said. "Because I see how hard it is for you sometimes, not being able to yell when you're frustrated or laugh out loud when you're happy. Because I love you, and I want you to have the choice." I thought about it for 3 days. Then I said yes. The surgery took 11 hours. The recovery took 8 months. There were days I wanted to quit. Days when the pain was so bad I couldn't eat. Days when I thought I would never produce a sound that wasn't a rasping wheeze. But Lucian was there every single day, encouraging me, celebrating the smallest progress. And then one morning, 8 months after the surgery, I woke up and whispered his name. "Lucian." It was broken, rough, barely audible, but it was my voice. For the first time in 18 years, I had spoken. 2 years after we married, Lucian brought up the topic of children. "I know you can't carry," he said gently, "but there are other ways to be a father. Adoption, fostering, if you want that." "I want that," I typed, even though I could speak now. I still used the tablet sometimes when emotions were too big for words. "I want to be a father." We started the process immediately. It took a year of paperwork, home visits, and evaluations. Then we got the call. There was a baby, a newborn Omega, abandoned at the hospital. No family, no name. They asked if we wanted her. We said yes before the caseworker even finished the sentence. We named her Arya. She had the biggest green eyes I had ever seen, the exact shade of Lucian's. Over the next 3 years, we adopted 4 more children. Twin boys, Theo and Finn, another girl, Ellie, and the youngest, Coyle, who had been found abandoned in a park at 2 months old. By the time our family was complete, I had 5 children who called me daddy and a husband who looked at me like I had hung the stars. My voice had returned enough that I could speak clearly, though it was still rough and I tired easily. I enrolled in medical school to study trauma recovery and speech therapy. If I couldn't save my own voice the first time, I thought, Maybe I could help others save theirs. 4 years later, I graduated with my doctorate and published my first paper on trauma-induced mutism. The paper went viral in medical circles. I was invited to speak at conferences, to lead workshops, to train other doctors. And 6 years after I'd left the palace broken and voiceless, I was invited to be the keynote speaker at the International Medical Conference in the capital, the city where I had lost everything. Lucian held my hand when I got the invitation. "Do you want to go?" he asked quietly. I looked at the invitation for a long time. Then I said yes. It's time. When we landed at the airport, our 5 children were buzzing with excitement. "Daddy, is this really where you grew up?" Arya asked, pressing her face to the car window. "It is," I said, my voice still rough but clear. "I lived here before I met Papa." "Can we see your old house?" Theo asked. "Maybe," I said, "if there's time." Kyle, the youngest at 4 years old, was holding my hand so tight it hurt. "Daddy, I'm hungry." "Papa, he's always hungry," Ellie said, rolling her eyes. "That's because he's a growing boy," Lucian said, ruffling Kyle's hair. "We'll get food soon, sweetheart." As we walked through the airport, I felt the weight of memory pressing down on me. This building, these halls. I had walked through here 6 years ago with nothing but a bag and a shattered heart. Now I was walking through as Dr. Aaron Ash, published researcher, keynote speaker, father of 5. The change felt surreal. Then I saw them, Kaiser, Dimitri, and Theron, standing near the arrival gates with Lord Ashford, clearly waiting for their car. My entire body went cold. Lucian felt me freeze and followed my gaze. His arm immediately went around my shoulders. "Do you want to leave through a different exit?" he asked quietly. I started to nod, but before I could move, Kale pulled free from my hand and ran forward. He was chasing Finn, laughing, not watching where he was going. He crashed directly into Lord Ashford and knocked the man's briefcase out of his hands. Papers scattered everywhere. Before Kale could even react, Ashford grabbed his arm hard and yanked him forward. "Watch where you're going, you little brat," he snarled. "Do you have any idea who I am?" Kale's face crumpled. "I'm sorry," he whispered, tears already forming. "I didn't mean to." "I don't care what you meant," Ashford snapped. "You need to be taught some manners." He raised his hand. I moved faster than I knew I could. I was there in seconds, putting myself between Ashford and my son, and grabbing Coyle and pulling him behind me. "Don't you dare touch my child," I said, my voice coming out rough and dangerous. Ashford's hand froze mid-air. He looked at me and his face went white. "You, Kaiser, Dimitri," and Theron turned at the sound of my voice. All 3 of them stared at me like they were seeing a ghost. I didn't want to be there, didn't want to look at them. I knelt down and pulled Kyle into my arms. "It's okay, baby, Daddy's here." "You're safe." Kyle sobbed into my shoulder. "Daddy," I said. "Sorry," but he yelled anyway. "I know, sweetheart. Some people don't know how to accept apologies nicely. But you did the right thing." My other 4 children gathered around us immediately. Arya put her hand on Kyle's back. "You're okay, Kale. We're here." Lucian came up behind me and helped me stand, keeping one hand on my shoulder. I turned to Ashford and said calmly, "I apologize for my son running into you. It was an accident. Now, if you'll excuse us." I started to turn away. Then Kaiser's voice cut through the noise of the airport like a blade. "Aaron." "Stop." I froze. My whole body went rigid. Slowly, I turned back. Theron was staring at me, his gold eyes wide. That voice. "You can talk now." "How?" Dimitri took a step closer. "What are you doing here? And why are you pretending to be someone else?" I took a deep breath and forced my voice to stay steady. "I'm sorry, Your Majesties, but there seems to be some misunderstanding. My name is Dr. Aaron Ash, not whoever you think I am." Ashford stepped forward quickly, and I could see the panic in his eyes. "Your Majesties, this man can speak." The translator you knew was mute. Clearly, this is someone else who happens to resemble him. "These things happen. You should let them go." He turned to me with false politeness. "Please control your children better in the future, Doctor. Not everyone is as forgiving as I am." The threat in his voice was barely concealed. I met his eyes and said nothing. Lucien's hand tightened on my shoulder. Come on, love, the car's waiting. We walked away. I could feel their eyes on my back the entire way. When we got in the car and the doors closed, I finally let myself breathe. The children were chattering, upset about the mean man, but Lucien was quiet. He took my hand. You okay? He asked softly. Not yet, I said, but I will be. That night, back in our hotel suite, I couldn't sleep. Lucien found me standing at the window, looking out at the city lights. Talk to me, he said quietly, wrapping his arms around me from behind. Seeing them today, I said, it brought everything back. I thought I was over it. I thought I had healed. But standing there, looking at them, I felt like that 23-year-old Omega again. Lost and broken and voiceless. You're not that person anymore. Lucien said, you're Dr. Aaron Ash. You have 5 children who adore you. You have a husband who loves you more than anything in this world. You have a voice. You have a career. You've built an entire life. They don't get to take that from you. I know, I whispered. I know. But it still hurts. Of course it hurts, he said. They hurt you, but you survived. And more than that, you thrived. You're going to stand on that stage tomorrow and show them exactly who you became without them. I leaned back into his warmth. What did I do to deserve you? You existed, he said simply. That's all you ever had to do. The next morning was the opening ceremony. I stood backstage in my formal suit, adjusting my tie for the 10th time. The children were in the front row with Lucien, all dressed up and excited. Aria kept waving at me from her seat. I waved back and she grinned. A stagehand approached. Dr. Ash, you're on in 5 minutes. I nodded. Thank you. My hands were shaking, not from nervousness about the speech. I had given this speech a dozen times, but because I knew they were out there somewhere in that audience. I had seen them on the attendee list, Kaiser, Dimitri, and Theron, attending as representatives of the United Territories Medical Board. They were going to watch me speak, going to hear my voice clearly for the first time, going to see exactly what I had become. Good, I thought. Let them see. Let them know what they threw away. The lights dimmed. My name was called. I walked onto that stage and looked out at 500 people, and in the 3rd row, I saw them. 3 pairs of eyes locked on me immediately. Ice blue, storm gray, dark gold. I took a deep breath, looked at my children in the front row, and began. Good morning. My name is Dr. Aaron Ash, and 6 years ago I could not say those words. I was mute for 18 years following a severe fever in childhood, and then 6 years ago I lost something that broke me so completely I didn't think I would survive. I paused, the room was silent, but I did survive. And today I'm here to tell you that recovery is possible. That voice can return. That life can begin again even when you think it's over. I spent the next hour talking about my research, about trauma-induced mutism, about the experimental surgery that gave me my voice back, about the hundreds of patients I had helped since then. But underneath every word was a message directed at 3 people in the 3rd row. You did not break me. You did not destroy me. I became more without you than I ever was with you. When I finished, the applause was overwhelming. I stepped off the stage, and my children rushed me immediately, wrapping themselves around my legs. Daddy, you were amazing, they shouted. Lucien pulled me into his arms and kissed me in front of everyone. I'm so proud of you, he whispered. Before I could respond, a voice called out behind us, Dr. Ash. I turned. The 3 kings were standing there. Kaiser spoke first, his voice strained. We need to speak with you, privately. Lucien's arm tightened around me. My husband has nothing to say to you, your majesties. Dimitri's eyes moved to the children, studying their faces. Those children, how old are they? Before I could answer, Theron stepped forward. Please, just 5 minutes. I don't want the children to hear this conversation, I said quietly. Lucien nodded. Babies, stay with Papa. I'll be right back. They agreed reluctantly, and I followed the kings to a private conference room. The moment the door closed, Kaiser spoke. You're him. You're our translator. I crossed my arms. I was. 6 years ago. Now I'm Dr. Aaron Ash. Dimitri's voice was rough. The children, their eyes. Aria has eyes exactly like mine. The twins have Kaiser's eye color. Kyle has Theron's. That's not possible unless... Unless what? I said coldly. Unless you think adopted children magically inherit physical features from their adoptive parents, they're ours, your majesties, mine and my husband's. We adopted them because we wanted to be fathers, because we wanted to give love to children who had none. Something I thought I understood once before I learned what conditional love looks like. Kaiser took a step forward. Iran, we know what Ashford did. We know he lied. We investigated after you left and we found. You found the truth too late, I interrupted. 6 years too late. The truth is, I was 8 months pregnant with your heirs when you handed me divorce papers in a hospital bed. The truth is, I lost our children because of the stress you put me through. The truth is, the damage was so severe I can never carry children again. The truth is, I wanted to die for months after I left, and the only reason I didn't was because someone actually loved me enough to save me. Theron's face had gone white. We didn't know about the permanent damage. We didn't know. You didn't ask, I said. That's the point. You didn't ask. You didn't investigate. You didn't give me a chance to defend myself. You just believed him because it was easier to believe I was a liar than to believe your trusted advisor was manipulating you. Dmitri reached for me. Please, Iron, we've spent 6 years trying to find you, trying to fix this. Give us a chance to. To what? I asked. To apologize? You think you can undo 6 years of grief and trauma with an apology? Kaiser's voice shook. Those children, they have our eyes, all of them. That's not possible through adoption. I stared at him. Then I laughed, and it was a bitter, broken sound. You're right, it's not possible. But it's also not your business anymore. Those children are mine. They call me Daddy. They call Lucian Papa. We are their family. You are nothing to them. And I want you to leave us alone. I walked to the door. Aaron, wait, Theron said desperately. The bond, don't you feel it? We rejected you, but the bond is still there. We can still feel you. I turned back and looked at all three of them. I felt that bond die 6 years ago, when you chose to believe a liar over me. Whatever you're feeling now, it's guilt, not love, and I'm not interested in being the solution to your guilty conscience. I left the room and didn't look back. When I got back to Lucien and the children, Lucien took one look at my face and pulled me into his arms. I'm okay, I whispered. I promise I'm okay. The children clustered around us, worried. Daddy, who were those men? Ellie asked. No one important, I said, kneeling down to their level. Just some people I used to know a long time ago. Can we get ice cream now? Kyle asked. Because priorities. Lucian laughed. Yes, we can get ice cream. Come on, let's go. We spent the rest of the day exploring the city. I showed them the university where I had studied, the library where I had learned 6 of my 7 languages, the park where I used to sit and watch families, dreaming of having my own one day. And everywhere we went, I felt lighter, freer. Seeing the city with my children, with my husband, transformed it from a place of pain into just another city. It had no power over me anymore. That night, Lucien and I put the children to bed and sat together on the hotel balcony, looking out at the city lights. They're not going to leave us alone, he said quietly. I know, I said. Ashford looked terrified when he saw me. He knows I could expose him. And the Kings, they want answers. Answers they're not going to get. Lucian said firmly, You don't owe them anything. I know, I said, but I keep thinking about the twins, about the fact that they never got to know their children existed. Part of me wants them to suffer with that knowledge forever. And part of me wonders if I should tell them the truth. What truth? Lucian asked carefully. I looked at him. The children, Arya, Theo, Finn, Ellie, Kale. They're not just adopted. I paused. The timeline was a lie, Lucian. Ashford's medical report was falsified. Those twins I lost, they were conceived October 14th. I have the security footage to prove it. The palace records everything. The Kings were there that night. They were the fathers. Lucian went very still. Then why didn't you tell them that in the hospital? Because they didn't believe me, I said. They chose to believe falsified evidence over my word. So I let them think whatever they wanted, and when I left, I took the truth with me. Lucian was quiet for a long time. Then he asked, And the children we have now? I smiled. They're ours, completely ours, adopted legally and loved completely. But it's strange, isn't it? How Arya has storm gray eyes like Dmitri, even though she's adopted. how the twins have ice blue eyes like Kaiser, how Kale has gold eyes like Theron. Omegaverse genetics are strange that way. Sometimes acclaimed Omega's children, even adopted children, take on traits of the Omega's bonded alphas. It's rare, but it happens. Especially if the Omega was claimed and marked. Lucian looked at me. So what you're saying is, I'm saying our children carry traces of them whether we wanted it or not, I said. The bond wasn't fully severed when they threw me away. It was rejected, but not broken, and when I adopted the children, the bond, weak as it was, influenced their development. So yes, those children have their eyes, but that doesn't make them their children, it makes them mine. Biology doesn't determine family, love does. Lucian kissed my forehead. You're a better person than I am. I would never forgive them. I don't forgive them, I said, but I'm also not carrying their hate anymore. It's too heavy. I'd rather carry love instead. The rest of the week passed in a blur of conference events. I gave 3 more presentations, did a workshop on recovery techniques, signed copies of my published research, and everywhere I went, I felt their eyes on me. The 3 kings attended every event I was part of. They sat in the audience. They listened. They watched. They never approached me directly again, but their presence was constant. On the second to last day, I received a message on my conference tablet. It was from Kaiser. Please read this. It's important. Attached was a file. I almost deleted it, but curiosity won. I opened it. It was the original palace security footage from October 14th, 6 years ago. The night they claimed the twins couldn't have been theirs. The footage showed me entering their private chambers at 8 in the evening. It showed all 3 of them arriving an hour later. It showed none of us leaving until the next morning when they departed for the Northern Summit. Time-stamped, verified, undeniable proof that I had been with them that night. Below the video was a message. We found this 3 weeks after you left. Ashford had buried it in the archives and falsified the physician's report. We confronted him. He confessed to everything. We wanted to find you, to apologize, to bring you home. But you were gone. No trace, no forwarding information. We've been searching for 6 years, and now that we found you, we don't know how to fix what we broke. We don't expect forgiveness. We just want you to know the truth. The twins were ours. We know that now, and we are so sorry. I stared at that message for a long time. Then I deleted it. Knowing the truth didn't change anything. It didn't bring back the twins. It didn't undo 6 years of grief. It didn't erase the fact that they had chosen to believe a lie instead of trusting me. I wasn't interested in their apologies. I had built a new life, a better life, and I wasn't going back to the one that had destroyed me. That night was our last in the capital. Tomorrow we would fly home, back to our normal life, and leave this city behind again. I had just finished packing when there was a knock at the hotel room door. Lucian answered it. Then his voice called out, strained, "Iron, you need to see this." I walked to the door. Standing in the hallway, drenched from the rain outside, were Kaiser, Dimitri, and Theron. All 3 of them looked wrecked, eyes red, clothes soaked. Ashford was with them, but he was in handcuffs, held by 2 royal guards. Before I could ask what was happening, Kaiser spoke. We arrested him, tonight, for treason, falsification of royal documents, and conspiracy to harm the royal family. He's going to stand trial. We made sure of it. Ashford looked at me with pure hatred in his eyes. You ruined everything, he hissed. You were never supposed to be theirs. You were nothing. One of the guards yanked him back. That's enough. They dragged him away. The 3 kings remained. Dimitri spoke next. We know we can't undo what we did. We know we can't fix this. But we wanted you to know that we're making it right in every way we can. Ashford will pay for what he did, and he paused, his voice breaking. We will live with what we did to you for the rest of our lives. Theron stepped forward. The children, please, just tell us, are they biologically ours? I looked at all 3 of them, and I made a choice. No, I said clearly, they're not. The twins I lost were yours. I have the security footage to prove it. But the children I have now, I adopted them with my husband. They're ours, not yours. Kaiser's face crumpled. The eyes, he whispered. They have our eyes. Omegaverse genetics, I said. Sometimes claimed Omegas pass bond traits to their children, Even if the children aren't biologically related to the alphas. It's rare, but it happened. They look like you because I was claimed by you, but they're not yours. They're mine. The devastation on their faces was absolute. Iran, please, Dmitri said. We know we don't deserve it, but please, give us a chance to be in their lives, to know them, to... No, I said firmly. You don't get that. You lost that right 6 years ago when you chose to believe a liar over me. Those children are my family, and I will not let you hurt them the way you hurt me. Theron's voice shook. We love you. We never stopped loving you. We made a mistake, a horrible, unforgivable mistake, but we love you. That's not love, I said quietly. Love doesn't doubt. Love doesn't abandon. Love doesn't hand someone divorce papers when they're grieving. What you feel now is regret, and I'm sorry you have to live with that, but it's not my responsibility to make you feel better about the choices you made. I started to close the door. Kaiser's hand shot out, stopping it. Please, he said desperately, just let us apologize properly. Let us explain. Let us. I pulled the door open wider and looked him directly in the eyes. You want to apologize? Fine. I'm sorry, Kaiser said immediately. I'm sorry we didn't trust you. I'm sorry we didn't investigate. I'm sorry we let Ashford manipulate us. I'm sorry we hurt you. I'm sorry we weren't there when you needed us. I'm sorry we lost our children. I'm sorry for everything. Are you sorry you divorced me? I asked. Yes. Are you sorry you doubted I was faithful? Yes. Are you sorry you believed Ashford over me? Yes. I looked at Dmitri and Theron. They both nodded, eyes desperate. I took a deep breath. Okay, I accept your apology. They looked stunned. You do? Kaiser said. Yes, I said. I accept your apology. I forgive you for doubting me. I forgive you for the divorce. I forgive you for believing Ashford. I even forgive you for the loss of our twins because I know that wasn't intentional. Hope bloomed on their faces. But, I continued, and that hope died immediately. I do not forgive you for what you're doing right now. What? Dmitri asked, confused. Right now, I said, my voice hard. You're standing at my hotel room door, demanding I let you into my life, into my children's lives, without any consideration for what I want. You're making this about your guilt, your regret, your need to fix things. You're not thinking about me. You're not thinking about my children. You're thinking about yourselves, just like you did 6 years ago. So no, I forgive you for the past, but I will not give you access to my future. Those children are mine. They have a father, they have a papa, they have a family, and you're not part of it. I looked at Lucian, who had been standing silently behind me the whole time. We're done here. Lucian nodded and stepped forward, gently moving me behind him. Your Majesties, my husband has made his wishes clear. Please respect them and leave. The 3 kings stared at us. Then, slowly, they stepped back. We understand, Kaiser said quietly. We won't bother you again. They turned to leave, but Theron stopped and looked back. For what it's worth, he said softly. I'm glad you found someone who treats you the way you deserve. I'm glad you have a family. I'm glad you're happy. I just wish, his voice broke. I wish we had been the ones to give that to you. Me too, I said honestly, but you weren't, and that's something we both have to live with. They left. I closed the door and leaned against it, shaking. Lucien wrapped his arms around me immediately. You did so well, he whispered. I'm so proud of you. Did I do the right thing? I asked. I feel like I just destroyed them. You set a boundary, Lucien said firmly. That's not destruction. That's self-preservation. They destroyed themselves 6 years ago when they chose not to trust you. This is just the consequence. I nodded. We stood there for a while, holding each other. Then one of the children called out, Daddy, Papa, we're thirsty. We both laughed. Come on, Lucien said. Let's take care of our kids. We walked into the bedroom, where all 5 children were sprawled across the massive hotel bed, giggling and playing. Arya looked up. Daddy, can we have hot chocolate? It's late, I said. You should be sleeping. Please? All 5 of them chorused. I looked at Lucien. He shrugged, smiling. Hot chocolate it is, I said. The children cheered. While Lucien ordered room service, I sat on the bed and let the children climb all over me, asking questions about tomorrow's flight and what we were going to do when we got home. This, I thought, this is what love looks like. Not grand declarations or apologies, just hot chocolate at midnight and children who feel safe enough to be silly. This is what I almost lost, and this is what I'll protect with everything I have. We flew home the next day. The children slept most of the flight, exhausted from the week. Lucien held my hand the entire time. When we landed and stepped into our home, the familiar smell of it, the warmth, the safety, I felt the last of the tension leave my body. We were home. The capital was behind us. The past was behind us. 1 month later, I received a package at my office. It was from the United Territories. Inside was a formal letter on royal stationery. Dr. Ashe, it began. We wanted to inform you that Lord Ashford has been tried and convicted of treason and conspiracy. He has been sentenced to life imprisonment. We also wanted to let you know that we have established a foundation in honor of the children we lost. The Omega Health and Wellness Foundation provides free medical care, therapy, and legal support to Omegas who have experienced pregnancy loss or medical complications. We cannot change what we did to you, but we can try to make sure it doesn't happen to anyone else. We wish you and your family nothing but happiness. There was no signature, but I knew who it was from. I showed the letter to Lucien. What do you think? I asked. I think, he said slowly, that they're trying. It doesn't fix anything, but it's something. I nodded. It was something. And maybe, in time, it would be enough for me to stop feeling the weight of it. Maybe not, but at least they were trying to do better. That was more than nothing. 6 months after the conference, I got a call from an unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. Hello? Dr. Ashe? A female voice said. This is Dr. Sarah Chen from the Royal Medical Board. I'm calling to inform you that you've been nominated for the Chancellor's Award for Medical Innovation. The ceremony is in 3 months. We'd be honored if you would attend. I was stunned. The Chancellor's Award was the highest honor in the medical field. Who nominated me? I asked. The nomination was submitted by 3 members of the royal family, she said, Kaiser, Dimitri, and Theron of the United Territories. They cited your groundbreaking work in trauma recovery and your contributions to the field of speech pathology. I was silent for a long time. Dr. Ashe, are you there? Yes, I said. I'm here. I'll need to think about it. Of course, she said. Please let us know within the week. I hung up and stared at the phone. They had nominated me for the highest medical honor in the territories. Part of me wanted to refuse. Wanted nothing to do with anything connected to them, but another part of me, the part that had worked so hard to build this career, wanted that recognition, deserved that recognition. I talked to Lucien about it that night. What do you want to do? He asked. I want to go, I admitted. I want to accept that award. I earned it. It has nothing to do with them, even though they nominated me. You're right, Lucien said. You did earn it. So go. Accept it. Show them that you don't need their approval, but you'll take their recognition because you deserve it. So I went. 3 months later, I stood on a stage in the Grand Hall of the Royal Medical Academy. The room was filled with the most prestigious doctors and researchers in the territories. Lucien sat in the front row with our 5 children, all dressed in their formal clothes and beaming with pride. I had just received the Chancellor's Award. The medal was heavy in my hands. When it was my turn to speak, I looked out at the audience and saw them, Kaiser, Dimitri, and Theron, sitting in the back row, watching. I took a breath and began. 6 years ago, I lost my voice, not just physically, but emotionally. I lost my ability to speak, to defend myself, to tell my truth. I lost my children. I lost the family I thought I would have. I lost everything. I paused, but what I learned is that losing everything doesn't mean you're broken forever. It means you have the opportunity to rebuild, to choose what kind of life you want, to choose who you want to be. And I chose to be a father. I chose to be a husband. I chose to be a doctor who helps others find their voice when the world tries to silence them. This award isn't just mine. It belongs to every patient I've worked with, every Omega who has lost a pregnancy and thought they couldn't survive, every person who has been told they're not enough. You are enough. You always were. The applause was deafening. I looked at my children, at Lucien, and I smiled. Then I looked at the 3 kings in the back row. They were crying, all 3 of them, tears streaming down their faces. I nodded once, an acknowledgement. not forgiveness, not reconciliation, just recognition that we had both survived, that we had both moved forward, that the past was finally, truly in the past. After the ceremony, I didn't seek them out. I took my family out to dinner. We celebrated and we went home. And I didn't think about them again. Months turned into years. My career continued to grow. I published 3 more papers, opened a clinic specifically for trauma patients, trained dozens of new therapists, watched my children grow. Aria started school and fell in love with languages just like me. Theo and Finn joined the junior athletics program and excelled. Ellie discovered a talent for music. Kale, my youngest, my baby, started reading at 4 years old and never stopped. Lucien and I celebrated our 10th anniversary, and through it all, I was happy. Genuinely, completely happy. The life I had built was more than I had ever dreamed of, and the life I had lost stopped haunting me. It became just a chapter in my story, not the whole book. One day, when Kale was 7 years old, he asked me a question. Daddy, why do I have gold eyes like in the pictures of the old kings? I was helping him with homework at the kitchen table. I paused. What pictures? The history books at school, he said. We're learning about the United Territories, and there are pictures of King Theron. He has gold eyes like mine. I looked at my youngest son, who had somehow grown so much without me noticing. I took a breath and decided to tell him the truth. When I was younger, I said carefully, before I met Papa, I worked for the 3 kings. They claimed me as their mate, but it didn't work out, and we separated before you were born. Sometimes, when an Omega has been claimed, their children, even adopted children, can inherit small traits from the Omega's former mates. It's rare, but that's why you have gold eyes. Kale thought about this. Did they hurt you? He asked quietly. Yes, I said honestly. They did, but I survived, and I found Papa, and then I found you and your siblings, and now I'm happy. So even though they hurt me, I'm grateful, because everything that happened led me to this family. Do you still love them? Kyle asked. No, I said. I love Papa. I love you. I love your sisters and brothers. That's all the love I need. Kyle nodded, satisfied. Okay, Daddy. He went back to his homework, and I sat there, realizing that I had finally let it go. The pain, the anger, the grief. It was gone, transformed into something else, into gratitude for what I had now, into peace. Years later, when all 5 of my children were grown, when Aria was in medical school, when the twins were playing professional athletics, when Ellie was performing in concert halls, when Kale was publishing his first novel, I received one final letter. It was from Kaiser. I almost didn't open it, but Lucien saw it on my desk and said gently, "Maybe you should, just to close that door completely." So I opened it. Inside was a single page. "Aaron," it began, "I don't know if you'll read this. I don't know if you should, but I wanted you to know that Dimitri passed away last month. Cancer. He fought it for 2 years. Theron and I were with him at the end. His last words were about you, about the twins, about the family we could have had. I'm not telling you this to make you feel guilty or to ask for anything. I just thought you should know. We never moved on. We never bonded with anyone else. We spent the rest of our lives trying to make amends for what we did to you. The foundation has helped thousands of Omegas. We funded research. We changed laws. We did everything we could to fix the system that allowed Ashford to hurt you, but it never felt like enough, because nothing could bring back what we lost. I hope you've had a good life, Aaron. I hope you've been happy. You deserve that. We never did. Goodbye." The letter wasn't signed, but I knew it was from Kaiser. I stared at it for a long time, then I showed it to Lucien. "How do you feel?" he asked quietly. "Sad," I said. "I feel sad that Dimitri died. Sad that they spent their whole lives in regret. But I don't feel guilty. I don't feel like I should have done anything differently. I made the right choice for me and for our children, and I would make it again." Lucien kissed my forehead. "Then let's honor that," he said. "Let the past rest." So I did. I wrote one final letter in return. "Kaiser, I'm sorry for your loss. Dimitri was a good man who made a terrible mistake. I hope he found peace at the end. I have had a good life, a wonderful life. I have 5 children who are everything to me. I have a husband who has stood by me for decades. I have a career that brings me joy. I have healed, and I hope one day you and Theron find peace too. Take care of yourselves. Aaron, I sent it, and then I closed that chapter forever. If you enjoyed this story, please like, share, and subscribe. It truly helps the channel grow. My beautiful heaven angels, tell me your thoughts in the comments. Which part touched you the most, and where can I improve? I love reading and replying to your comments. It means the world to me. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. Until next time, stay blessed. And remember, losing everything doesn't mean you're broken forever. It means you have the chance to rebuild. And sometimes what you build is even more beautiful than what you lost.